Hey guys, welcome back. I know that for those of you applying for 2020 judicial clerkships, yesterday was the first day the judges could officially start calling you and asking you to interview. And so if you're interested in how to prepare for those judicial clerkship interviews, give yourself the best chance at getting those clerkship opportunities, keep watching. Number one, if you haven't already, reach out to career services at your law school and get a list of all the alumni that have clerked for this particular judge, because you're going to want to call them, buy them a coffee, get as much information out of them as you can about what this clerkship interview is going to look like, specifically what the format of the interview will be, what types of questions the judge tends to ask, and if there's any sort of expertise or background or interest that the judge is looking for in potential clerks. Even if you can't find any alumni from your law school that have clerked for this particular judge, try to find somebody. Maybe the law firm you accepted an offer with has one of their associates or partners who clerked for this judge, or maybe you can run a Google search in law firm bios or on LinkedIn for someone who's clerked for this judge. You want to find somebody with inside information about the type of format the judge uses to interview, because this inside information is going to be incredibly important, especially because judges vary so widely in how they conduct their clerkship interviews. Number two, do your homework. Get caught up on all of the information you need going into this interview, and specifically three things. One, do the research on your judge ahead of time. So Google and Wikipedia the hell out of them. See where they grew up, where they went to undergrad, where they went to law school, what their background is. Were they a prosecutor or a law professor, or did they work in big law or politics? See if their name pops up in the news anywhere. See if a decision that they wrote got press attention, because they very well may ask you your opinion on that decision. Researching the judge not only helps to give you an idea and a profile of the person you're going to be interviewing with, it also gives you a lot of great information for potential questions or finding commonalities between yourself and the judge that you can refer back to. Number two, know everything about your resume inside and out. Every single thing that's listed on there, especially any writings or publications you listed, especially the writing sample you submitted, any holes or any negatives that you might have to explain away, and of course your interest section, because that's what makes you a real human being. Number three, be sure to check out the news the morning of your interview before you leave the house, because the judge could easily bring up a current event or a headline as a way to engage you in conversation, and you don't want to appear uninformed or unaware of the world around you. Number three, prepare your responses out loud to the most common interview questions asked by judges. Now, I would say that the three most common, most fair game questions are going to be, why do you want to clerk? Why do you want to clerk for me? And why do you want to clerk in a trial court or an appellate court, depending on the type of court where your judge is presiding? Outside of these first three introductory type questions, I would say that the remaining questions a judge is likely to ask you are going to fall into one of two major categories. The first category being sort of legal substantive type questions. So the judge wants to see that you're interested in the law, engaged in the law, have an opinion about the law, and so they are likely to ask you questions about your opinion on certain legal precedents or types of law. They might ask you what your favorite law school class was and why. They might ask you for your favorite Supreme Court justice or favorite Supreme Court decision and why. And they might also ask you what your personal opinion is or thoughts are on a judicial decision that the judge has recently made. The second main category of questions is going to be personal questions, because judges want to see if you're going to be a good personality fit for the role, because Chambers is not only a very small staff, it's also a very small space, and so you guys are going to be working in really tight quarters, and judges generally want to be comfortable with their clerks. They want to find them interesting and engaging. So don't be surprised by questions like, where are you from? What is your background? How many brothers and sisters do you have? What do your parents do for a living? Are you a sports fan? Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? And anything that you've listed as an interest. I'm also going to put in the description below a list of questions that you might be asked by a judge in a clerkship interview, so that you guys can go ahead and start preparing for these answers to these potential questions. Number four, have a list of questions prepared in your mind going into the interview to ask the judge and to ask the judge's clerks. The format for every judicial clerkship interview is going to be a little bit different, is going to vary by judge, but generally speaking, you'll meet with the judge for about 30 minutes to an hour, and then you'll meet with the judge's clerks for about 30 minutes to an hour. And you're gonna wanna have separate question lists prepared for each of them. And I don't mean written down that you're referencing during the interview, but that you've already thought about, that you've already prepared. And to help you guys start thinking about those types of questions, I'm gonna put in the description below questions that you can consider asking the judge and questions to consider asking the clerks. Number five, be nice to everyone. As I mentioned before, judges have teams that are very small, very tight-knit. You might be talking for a trial judge, for example, their legal secretary, their courtroom deputy, their bailiff, their court reporter, and maybe 1 or 2 clerks. So you're looking at 5 or 6 people working in very tight quarters that may have been with the judge for those permanent positions 10, 20, 30 years. And so these people are family. And so when you're walking in, keep that in mind. From the moment that you get that first phone call for an interview, to when you show up and are waiting in the waiting room, to when you leave and ask for parking validation, make sure you are always pleasant and polite and courteous, because whether and how you treat these people can absolutely mean the difference between getting an offer and not getting one. Number 6, be prepared for the offer. Interviewing with a judge for a judicial clerkship is very different than interviewing with a law firm, because with a law firm, you can sort of accumulate your OCI and callback interviews and acceptances, take your time, and then pick the one you want. But when you interview with a judge, the understanding is that you're already willing and ready to say yes to that clerkship offer. And judges don't really have to follow any rules. They can offer you the clerkship at any point in time. The judges don't even necessarily go through all of their interviews and all of their interview slots before making an offer. And so you can get an offer at the end of the day or the next day or the next week. And judges are going to expect a very enthusiastic and excited yes. And so if you ask on the phone, for example, when you get the offer, can I have some more time? Can I think it over? The judge could, in that moment, say no or rescind the offer, even for you asking for more time. So whatever logistical or personal sort of reasons or details you need to work out, be sure to work those out before going into the interview so that you feel confident and comfortable saying yes. And number 7, be calm in the knowledge that you can always apply again. There are so many qualified candidates applying for these positions and only a limited number of judicial clerkship positions. So not getting a clerkship this time around doesn't mean you're not smart enough or you're not hardworking enough or you're not capable of doing the job. There are so many different reasons that you might not have gotten a clerkship this time around, including reasons completely outside of your control. For example, I knew of a judge who had a clerkship opening but then decided to close it because his or her current clerk couldn't find a job after the clerkship, so they offered the clerk to stay for another year. So just things like that that can always come up. And judges really value prior work experience. And so even if you don't get a clerkship this time around, you can apply after working 1, 2, 3, however many years in private practice or out in the legal world and make yourself even more competitive for these positions. So if being a judicial clerk is something you want to do, keep at it, and it's going to wind up being a win-win for both you and the judge. For those of you who are currently in the judicial clerkship application process, you guys are amazing for going out and doing this. I know the application was a ton of work. I know the interview process is incredibly stressful, but the clerkship opportunity is really amazing. So keep fighting for it, keep going after it, and I wish you guys the best of luck. As always, if you guys are interested in seeing more videos, click subscribe and the notification bell, and you will be notified every time we release a new video every single Tuesday. So until then, best of luck. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.